So the author Salman Rushdie, the one whose book The Satanic Verses led to death threats in the 1980s from Iran and other places, has been stabbed on stage. He was repeatedly punched and stabbed. It seems like it was in the neck, and we don't know what his condition is right now. I'm going to discuss how this is a story of how talking about Islam, criticizing it in any way or form whatsoever, even with satire, leads to a lifetime increase in risk. Let's get into it. I'm your friendly ex-Muslim, Abdullah Samir. So Salman Rushdie wrote a book back in the 1980s. And now, after so many years, you would have thought, his life would be fine. But no, apparently there's still a risk. People like me, people who do this, why do we do this? Why would we take this risk? What is the point of speaking about Islam critically? Well, we do it because we know it's important, because there are extremists in the world. Now, does this mean that every Muslim is going to be out there trying to get someone like me? No, of course not. There are obviously extremists, and every group has its best and worst people. Whoever did this is one of the worst people. The problem is the ideology that leads to such a thing. The problem never goes away, does it? It looks like things have improved, and yes, they have improved, but still, even based on something he did in the 80s, he's still at risk, and you can see we don't even know if he's going to survive or not. We hope that he does. This is why we must continue to speak about the worst parts of Islam. We must continue to fight this ideology however we can. Now, I had a personal issue recently in my life where certain family members are upset about what I'm doing. Now, it's interesting because I've been doing this for a long time, but why would they be upset? The thing is, this is how I see it. A lot of my family are very liberal. They're very liberal Muslims. Most of them, the women don't wear hijab. Most of my family, they don't pray. Some of them pray, some of them don't, but they choose what they want. Majority of them got mortgages. They got houses on mortgages. And the majority of them can basically take loans and do whatever they want. Some of them even went to a casino before. It's like they're living their life how they want to live their life. If they want to be Muslim to some extent, to whatever extent they want to be praying once a week or not praying at all or praying every day, that's totally their choice. But then they see someone like me and they say, well, why do you want to speak about Islam? Islam is so beautiful and whatever, right? It's my religion. Why are you attacking it? Well, first of all, I'm attacking it on my platform, and I'm attacking not all of it, some of it, the parts that are excessive, the parts that are harmful. Of course, I don't believe in any of it, but that's just different. You believe and I don't believe. How is it that we live in a world where this religious doctrine can cause these type of things to happen? People to be killed. In fact, someone that's close to me actually has a blog, and on that blog it says that apostates should be killed. And I asked this person to remove this blog post, and they never did. How is it that I'm the bad guy in a situation like this, where this ideology is so cultish and so harmful, and it actually spreads such toxic ideas, so much so that some people will be celebrating Salman Rushdie's stabbing. They'll say, yes, we got rid of one more blasphemer if he dies. And if he doesn't, then again, the rest of his life is going to suffer now because he's got injured, probably severely injured. We don't know yet, right? The point I'm trying to make is that if you're a privileged, entitled person living in the West, that you don't have to wear hijab, no one's going to attack you like they do in Iran. You're not going to go to jail for making a TikTok video like you would in Iran. You're not going to be charged for blasphemy if you're Ahmadi in Canada, right? Unlike in Pakistan, you can be charged for blasphemy just for calling a mosque a mosque. You can't even call it a mosque in Pakistan if you have an Ahmadiyya mosque. You can't call it a mosque. The amount of suffering that happens in the world because of this religion, the amount of people's lives that are ruined, including my own life and the choices that I made that led me to go deep down this rabbit hole of Sunni Islam. These things actually, the sacrifices I made and things that I'll never get back. I made a life that I thought would be pleasing to Allah, and I propagated it and I promoted it and I put money into it and I avoided certain things and I did certain other things like praying and fasting and giving my money and putting my kids in Islamic school and avoiding any bank related, so many things. My entire life was changed because I was deep into this, almost like a cult, right? And those of you that are Muslim but not so religious, or maybe liberal, and you don't care, and you think I was extremist back then, I'm still an extremist, well, just realize that there's a large percentage of the Muslim population that is extremist, if that's what you call extremist. And I don't mean violent, I just mean like how I was, very practicing. And if you think these people that don't have music and, don't have TV sometimes and put their kids in Islamic school and don't interact with the bigger society are extremists, well, don't you think that these people would be better off if they were less religious? So what I'm doing something on my own platform that anyone can come if they want to and watch it. If they don't want to watch it, they don't have to watch it. And this is something that I deeply believe in. No matter what happens to me, even if Salman Rushdie situation, stabbing happens to me, I've accepted that, and that is who I am. And this is the price I am willing to pay. And I hope it doesn't get to that. I hope it doesn't. I hope I don't get stabbed. But this is a price that I have accepted and, agreed upon, that this is the risk I'm taking. Thankfully, it's much less risk, but there's still a risk. As we can see, this guy was not in a Muslim country when this happened. So this thing that I used to believe in and sacrifice so much for, I don't want anyone else to do that. I'd rather that someone has some doubt about the religion, and maybe even Muslims would agree. Not all Muslims agree. Shias attack Sunnis and their beliefs. Sunnis attack Shias. Sufis attack Wahhabis. Salafis, aka Wahhabis, attack Sufis and say they're misguided. Everyone is criticizing Islam in different ways. Ahmadiyyas criticize Sunnism. Sunnis criticize Ahmadis. They call them Qadianis. There's so many differences in Islam. They're all criticizing each other anyways. And on top of that, there was this recent, killing that happened of Muslim men. Apparently, it happened in Muharram, the holy time for Shias. It was some Sunnis that went and stabbed a bunch of Shias. This happens all the time. Don't you want to live in a world with less extremism? And how else would you get less extremism? You can try your own way of being a moderate Muslim and saying, shouldn't be too religious. But the problem is the religious doctrine encourages more religiosity. To what extent, it depends on individual personalities and how they take it. So what my project is to, maybe you don't agree that I don't believe in Islam, and maybe you don't agree that I'm attacking it, so to speak. I guess I am attacking it pretty much. Well, just realize that that's my right. Just like you have a right to promote Islam, you have every right to do your dawah in Canada, US, America, whatever, Australia, New Zealand, all these non-Muslim countries. You can do your dawah. So I can do my anti-dawah, whatever you want to call it. I have my right to freedom of speech, just like you have your right to freedom of speech. And nobody's going to stop me. It's not going to happen. I don't care if I make money or don't make money. I don't care if I'm dead or alive. This is going to continue. And it's not going to stop. And none of us are going to stop, because we care about this mission. We care about the world that we live in. We care about the world that our kids live in. And if we don't do something, if you look at the cesspool on TikTok, YouTube's a little bit better. You look at the way that extremism creeps into a society, you'll see that there has to be a pushback, right? Whether it's the liberal Muslim pushback or whether it's an atheist pushback, there needs to be a pushback, right? And I don't really care if you want to be Muslim. If you want to be Muslim, you can be Muslim. That's your right. I even will fight for your right to be Muslim, to believe, to wear hijab, whatever, even though I think it's dumb. I think hijab is dumb. I think the religion is basically dumb. I mean, it's not true. It's an unnecessary sacrifice. If you want to do it, if you want to do religious cosplay, you want to dress up as whatever, go ahead. You want to do their thing, go ahead. I don't care. But I am going to push back against the society and how it changes society, because these things have an impact on the world that we live in, right? Nobody should be stabbed for writing a satire about Muhammad and whatever. Nobody should be attacked for these things. It's just words, man. It's just words. You live your life like the Quran says, "Lakum dinukum waliya deen," but nobody puts that into practice. I mean, some people put that into practice, and others, extremists, don't. They don't believe in lakum dinukum waliya deen. They don't believe in your religion, my religion, because the Quran also says that Islam will manifest itself as a way of life over all other ways of life. So obviously all religion is going to be pick and choose. People are going to pick the parts that appeal to them based on their personalities. But as a whole, I believe it's bad for society. Islam is bad for society, and I'm going to push back against it. I'm not going to allow this to continue unchallenged. And so if you are a privileged Muslim and you think it's bad, well, reconsider your privilege. The LGBT community that lives in Pakistan and the Middle East, the ex-Muslims and apostates, and even minority Muslim groups, they are suffering because of Islamic dogmatism and extremism. And even moderate Islam makes people suffer, if you want to call it. I don't even know what moderate Islam is to women. You know, the divorce laws in Islam, the inheritance laws that take away the rights of adopted children, the crazy nonsense you have to go through in order to make someone mahram to you so that you can be alone with them like an adopted child. You have to breastfeed them or whatever, like some silly stuff like that. The dogma has an effect on society, and there has to be a group of people that calls it out. The Islamic finance is a scam, and it takes advantage of people's well-wishing and wanting to be good people, and so many people suffer because of that. There's so many things in Islam, right? The superstition about jinns and how it affects people's mental health and prevents them from getting proper treatment for maybe schizophrenia or some other issue that they have. This world is always going to have religious people, right? And religious beliefs of some sort or another. But we cannot ever allow blasphemy to be forbidden. We have to consider that no idea is sacred, and we can challenge ideas, challenge religions, challenge beliefs or lack of beliefs, atheism, for example. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. As a society, we won't get anywhere, and we'll continue to see more extremism and more horrible things like this happening if we don't call it out. Fundamentalism will never go away until the day of judgment, or whatever you want to call it, until the end of time. There's going to be no day of judgment, but extremism, fundamentalism, extreme religiosity is going to continue. So some of us, we don't want to live in that world. And we have every right, just like you have a right to promote your religion, we have every right to go against it and to say it's not good for society, right? And that's what I'm going to continue to do. I'm your friendly ex-Muslim, Abdullah Samir. And that's all I have for today. Thank you for your support. To all my patrons who continue to support me, let me know what you think about Salman Rushdie being stabbed and this entire, project of criticizing Islam and belief systems in general. Leave a comment. It's good for the algorithm. And thumbs up the video, and stay tuned for more such videos. If you're not subscribed, do subscribe. This is your friendly ex-Muslim Abdullah Samir signing out.